later. I don't think this is working, is it? I have to keep it very close. Um, I don't know. I was expecting more people to show up. A lot of people emailed me directly and like, please, please, can you put me on the RCP list? Like, okay. It's like 12 people, I think. But okay, I'll remember their names. Okay. Anyways, my name is Ayuna. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Women in iOS Meetup organizer. Women in iOS Meetup is part of iOS Soho, which is the largest iOS meetup in New York City. If you'd like to get updates about the Women in iOS meetups, sign up here, bit.ly Women in iOS Camel Case. I send out an email before I schedule every event, so you can hear first in RSVP for the events. Who's the meetup for? It's open to everyone. Everybody can attend. The goal of the meetup is to bring more women speakers and to diversify the larger iOS community in New York City, because I'm also running the iOS Soho meetup, and iOS Soho has been running for 3 years, and it never had women speakers. So I think that's bad. And it's also not super diverse. Still very awesome community, but we're just trying to change it a little bit. We have code of conduct that is on the meetup page event for every event. TLDR version is be nice. If you experience harassment or disrespect, you have any negative experience, please contact me. This is our fifth, I think, Women in iOS event. The first one was at the end of September, and the short history of the Women in iOS meetup is that a lot of people were asking, is it like for women only? Can men attend? Like, can I attend, etc.? And I was like, I don't know. We'll just do the first event and we'll see how it goes and get feedback. So we collected the feedback from the community, and the community spoke, and they said, yeah, it should be open to everyone. So everybody's welcome. December 7, very soon, we have Women in iOS meetup at Tumblr, where Cassandra Sanquist, iOS engineer at Tumblr, and Tamar Nachmani, she's an iOS engineer at Tumblr. Both of them work at Tumblr. They have very nice office space. They will speak on getting your first job in iOS, and because that's one question that Tamar gets all the time. So she just wants to answer it to a broader audience. And Cassandra will speak about tips and tricks and what does she do before starting a project. So basically Xcode setup and etc. So I think that would be very interesting. December 12th, we have iOS Soho meetup at Etsy. And we'll have our first woman speaker in the history of iOS Soho, Hannah Mittelstadt. She's an Android engineer at Etsy, actually, or iOS and Android, but mainly Android. But she will speak about the Etsy's ship tool that they developed to take out a lot of pain from the app release process. So if that's relevant, you should come. And Ashfo, iOS developer at Artsy, will speak on writing compassionate software and improving team dynamics, and basically what they learn and share their knowledge on building good team dynamics. December 15, we have a holiday party with Brooklyn Swift. Details will be announced later, but it's going to be fun, so you should all come. Speaking, again, as I said, the goal of the Women in iOS meetup is to bring more women speakers into the meetup. And if you'd like to speak, we have senior focused and junior focused events. So any level of experience is welcome. If these are some of the topics that the members of the community express interest in. So if you see anything on the list or anything else that you would like to share your knowledge on, please reach out to me. And tonight we have Maria Perez, who's a product manager at Adobe Creative SDK, on product development cycle talk, and Jenny Tang, iOS engineer at Grubhub on code organization. With that, I want to give mic to Harlan, who's here at Prolific, and he'll make an announcement. Thank you, Prolific, for hosting. Let's give a round of applause.
Hi, everybody. I'm Harlan Kellaway. I'm a senior iOS engineer here at Prolific Interactive. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about Prolific first. We're a mobile agency. We create iOS and Android apps for other companies. Most recently, Saks, Motel 6, Scott's Lawn Care, companies like that. And if you want more information about Prolific Interactive, you can talk to any of the engineers we have here. Raise your hands if you're an engineer here at. Talk to these folks if you're interested in Prolific Interactive. I also wanted to make a couple more announcements. One is in line with what Ayuna's talking about diversity. I'm heading up a diversity in our engineering hiring here at Prolific. So I have spoken to Ayuna, and I'm looking to distribute a survey in the meetup chat afterwards. The purpose of the survey is just to gather information from you all, people who identify as women, on their hiring experiences. Ultimately, to draw conclusions, share better hiring practices here at Prolific, and at large, if we share conclusions. So keep an eye out for that if you'd like to share anything negative or positive about your experience. And lastly, a couple people asked me for the Wi-Fi password. So if that interests you, it's weareprolific_guest. And the password is guest @ prolific. So weareprolific_guest, guest @prolific. And that's it. So enjoy, Maria Perez.
All right. So bathrooms are straight and right. Wi-Fi covered. I always forget about this. The survey link will be posted on the meetup event, the message board. It's completely voluntary and anonymous. But if you share your experience, that would be great because we can all think about how we can make that better, right? So Maria is, again, as I said, as a product manager at Adobe Creative SDK product, and she is also a co-founder of her own startup, Glassful, which is a wine discovery startup. She loves cooking and food, and she's a terrible singer. So terrible that her friends in Japan in a karaoke bar were upset with her. All right, please welcome Maria.
Hello, everybody. Let me get this one running. Okay, hello, everybody. Can you hear me well? Yeah? Can you hear me well? Can you hear me better now? Okay. I can fix the volume. I cannot fix the accent. So if you get any trouble with that, just like raise your hand or maybe send me back to my country because the political situation these days is kind of like supporting that. So regardless, is my hair looking good? Because I hear I'm going to be on camera. So hi, people. Thank you very much, Ayuna, for having me today. I have the pleasure to work for Adobe these days as a product manager for the SDK. How many of you in the audience are engineers? Like, please, all of you raise your hands. Okay, so this talk was probably not made for engineers. It's more made for people that build products, but engineers also build products, so, or are part of building a product. So I think you can also enjoy the talk and things like that. So a little bit of my background, I work in corporate. I started as a graphic designer, and well, I started studying advertising, where back in the time was called advertising when I was really young. And then from there, I moved into graphic design. And then from graphic design, I moved into usability, which was something that it was just starting, and I was part of like building websites that were made on HTML5 and tables, and from there we went to CSS and responsive and blah, blah, blah. So I've been basically in the website industry for many years. I work for corporate, mainly e-commerce, and then I work as a consultant for startups. And only lately, I moved into mobile, which is a completely new world for me. But I think some of the principles of the e-commerce or the principles of how we build the internet, I mean, there is a lot of advantages from back in that time that we can put in place into the mobile apps. I think the mobile apps has been very focused in features and like building the most amazing features that the technology has allowed us to build. But I think not so many times we keep in mind who is going to use that technology and what are we going to build it for. So I think my talk today is going to be focused on making the right decisions when you build a product. And please feel free to interrupt me anytime. I would actually appreciate that a lot. And let's start. Any questions before we start? Good, so you get my accent so far, that's good news. First thing is product features versus product cycle. And I'm gonna make a lot of analogies during my talk probably because it's a good way for me to save my language barriers, but also I think it's a really nice way of keeping our mind fresh and like looking for examples, yeah? So I'm gonna make this talk like if we were talking about journeys. I think building something is a journey, and building something always takes you from one point to another, which usually travel makes that to you too. So for me, the first question when we're building something is, what motivates you to travel? Or what motivates you to build that product? If you're an entrepreneur, I think you always need to have like this incredible desire or that incredible need of trashing your life and like ruin all your career and put all your effort on building this product. So as an entrepreneur, I don't know why I just have like this very big fixated idea that I wanted to build something that helped people to drink better wine. So in this case, I think that whatever motivates you to travel, whatever motivates you to build a product, that is like the most valuable part of what you're building, yeah? Many times we say, I want to build this feature because it's very challenging, or I want to do this because nobody done it before. And those are fair things to do, but maybe by doing that, we're not going to build something that anybody wants. So we always need to have this balance in between what we want to do, what is making us like pursuing that, and who is going to use it, yeah? So when we're building something, and when I'm talking about features versus product cycle, for me a very good example is a house, yeah? So when we talk about a product cycle, we're looking more into like what is a house for? A house needs to have a roof, need to have walls, windows, doors are nice to have too, yeah? So the basic structure of the product, it'll be the cycle. What am I building for my users? What type of like necessity I'm filling up, yeah? And then the features will be like all of this decoration that we can add afterwards, yeah? How many rooms, how do we want those windows? Is it 2-water roof or is a 4-water roof, like whatever, yeah? I think many times this looks really simplistic, but it's not. Like many times. I work as a consultant for startups many years back in Barcelona, and many times we look at things like, oh, we're gonna have all of these like nice features on it. We're gonna build this e-commerce that has all of nice features and filterings and blah, 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 and blah, blah. But what is your competitive advantage, you know? Have you ever find yourself in this situation? Have you ever find yourself typing a code that you don't even know what it's for because somebody put something on your desk and it's like, you need to build this feature. Why? Marketing says so. Great. Who's going to use it? I don't know. Great. So, very important, I didn't say this sentence. Don't be greedy. Want it all doesn't mean need it all. I think this is very important. We are not used to letting things behind, especially in our society. We are not used to choosing. And choosing today doesn't mean I cannot have that tomorrow. It just means I have to make things simple for me, I have to pick up the important things, and I have to start my journey somewhere. So I'd rather start building something that is going to compile with my walls, roof, windows rule than just like thinking on how the decoration of my living room is going to be, yeah? So I think that's important. And for that, I'm losing something here. Okay. And for that, I have a big why here, yeah? So why? Why am I building this is always the first question. Actually, in life, I think in general, you should always ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? Why am I living here? Why is this person my friend? Why am I here today? Jesus, I don't know. So my why here would be why the hell you? Like, why the hell you gonna build this product? Why did it end up in your desk? Yeah? Why are you the person from the whole team that somebody, a product manager or an engineer manager, has chose you to do this? So why you? Yeah? And then it's terrible, again, I'm coming back to it, it's terribly simple, but you'll be surprised how many co-founders I found on my way that they couldn't answer the basic 5 rules question. It looks, again, very simplistic, yeah? What problem are we solving? For who are we solving this? Why are we doing this? How are we doing it? What do we want to achieve? Still, you don't believe me? People pay me for fill up these questions for them. So sometimes when we want to do something, we don't take the time to think about it. So to recap a little bit more is don't be greedy, don't put everything, just choose and keep it simple. It's very important that you answer those 5 questions. If somebody drop something on your table and you are, typing there and they cannot answer those 5 questions, don't even bother. Don't even bother for one reason, because probably tomorrow this person is going to come back with something else, or he's going to change everything you have accomplished during the first 2 or 3 hours of your work or whatever, and it's going to be completely useless. I think saying no, it's important. But not no because no, I'm not going to do this. No, because you cannot even answer my 5 very simple questions. So if somebody comes to you and asks you to develop something, to develop a product or something, and they are not capable to answer a very simple questions, I would not waste my time with them. Oh, here's the why. Okay, great. So why? Why the hell you, yeah? So I would say before we start, so it usually works like this. Somebody come to you and say, hey, I have this great idea. I want to build this. And you're like, wow. And I'm very in a rush to build it. And you are like, yeah, but can't you just go develop a little bit farther why you want to build this? And they are like, because it's great. And you are like, okay, but can you just explain to me a little bit better why you want to build this? And he's like, yeah, because it's going to be great. And you are like, all right. So I would say 90% of the projects that fail, they fail before they even start. Meaning people have no idea what they're building. And people is so much in a rush to start building. It looks like if the keyboard makes some noise, we are on it, It doesn't matter you're typing to your boyfriend, this is crazy, nobody understands anything. But it looks like we are doing something, yeah? So let's type. No. Let's don't type. Let's sit together. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what are my basic home that I want to build. Let's choose what is strictly necessary for my user to understand, for my user to have their needs solved, yeah? And then let's start. I would say the later you start, the better, because it's more clear what you're going to do. And it's probably going to take you less time. I hate today, nowadays, I'm coming back to society, yeah? In our days, we are all super busy. How many times a day people tell you, I'm busy? And my question is, busy doing what? Doing nonsense? Doing things that you don't know where they're going to take you? Being with people that you don't know where they are adding into your life? Why don't you take a seat and you stop doing something for 1 hour at work? And then you're just going to think about everything is on your plate and you're going to prioritize it and you are allowed to change your mind. And then you're going to come back to your desk and you're going to be 3 times more productive than just going in between tabs. Do you ever have that feeling of control tab? If my screen is moving, then I've been productive, yeah? So what do we do before we start? I think we should have a product strategy. And again, a product strategy is nothing like too complicated. I think it's answering 5 very simple questions. If you answer these 5 questions and you can engage somebody on them, it means you're really like creating something that has some value, yeah? Then we also need a well-segmented target. I love marketing briefings because usually 90% of the marketing briefings are like, yes, my product is for people between 20 and 45 years old with high education, medium to high economical access, or however you call this, like money, basically, yeah, to buy things. Well educated, in most cases, and they live in main cities. And you're like, huh, great, so that's like 20% of the world, or 30% of the world, you know? Can you be a little bit more specific? Products that are really successful, many of them fix necessities that are for everybody, yeah? But you cannot set your target like that because guess what? You're gonna need personas and you're gonna need scenarios or you're gonna need user cases. And we not all behave the same. So if somebody brings you a marketing briefing when they are like, my target is this, and it's not segmented, ask them to segment their target. It's very comfortable for them to come and copy-paste the same target in all the projects, but maybe they can be a little bit more specific. So, and I would say set up product level and portfolio levels spending allocations, meaning sometimes we start doing things without knowing how much they're gonna cost us, and sometimes we start doing things thinking that the only budgets that we have to allocate are marketing and logistics and like the space or the rent. And design, somebody would do it very cheap. And developer, we found this guy that it's very expensive but will do it very fast. Yeah? Let's make some budgets before we start. Does it make sense? When I had my own startup, I made numbers in the completely wrong way, yeah? Completely wrong way. And it's true, you cannot be precise. Like I cannot know exactly what is going to be my discount when shipping with FedEx or whatever until I reach certain volumes. But I didn't make my numbers in the right way because I didn't really take in consideration many things. So whenever you think you're ready, I think you just need to have a second thought or a third thought. Yeah. So remember, don't be in a rush to start. Maybe if I took 3 months more than I did in order to prepare my project would have been much more successful than it was at the end of the day. But when I start my own entrepreneurship, I was so clever, you know, and I have this list of 70 mistakes that I'm never gonna do because I saw all my clients doing these mistakes, so I'm never gonna do these mistakes. And then you realize that you're ticking one by one, and it's really painful, let me tell you. It's like somebody's stabbing you there, like, oh, another mistake, and I can't blame anyone. Not even the marketing department I can blame. It's all my fault. So take your time, set up a good product strategy, answer your 5 questions, don't be in a rush, yeah? And then I'm just gonna drop these beautiful sentences here that I steal from somewhere, and I didn't credit, but whatever. So there is nothing more wasteful than brilliantly engineering a product that doesn't sell. How many times this happened? How many lines, how many millions of lines we have there that never saw the light, you know? Build versus buy. Do we need to build everything? Are we gonna build a blog from zero today? You know, let's buy stuff. It's people work. We are honoring these people from borrowing their code or buying their code, yeah? So let's share it. And as I said, I think most of the projects either succeed or failure before they even start. Yeah? So those things for me are truly, truly, truly important. So what would be the takeaway of cycle versus features? Yeah? For me, it's design, prototype, share, and repeat. This is cheap. This is super cheap. This is just a pen and a pencil. To start with, maybe, and just draw. Draw tons of versions. Don't even bother to go to the computer before. Just like we usually don't use our hands for anything else. I'm scared I'm gonna lose my pinkies. Or my son or my daughter maybe is gonna lose their pinkies when they born. I don't know. because we just don't use them anymore. So put your hands in, take a pen and paper, design, prototype, share, and repeat. Share it to people. Nobody's going to steal your idea because guess what? Not even you know what you're doing. So who's going to steal something that you don't know what you're doing? Just repeat it, share it, get feedback. Don't listen to everybody. The fact that people tell you what they would do, it doesn't mean you need to take it. It just means at least they are either reaffirming the good parts or they're not your target, you know? That's it. That's a good way of refining. Any questions? Okay. So you either didn't understand anything I say so far or it's not that interesting. That's okay. Yeah. For product versus features, cycles versus features, I think, for example, in our case, we've been very greedy. And some of that greediness came from advisors, and some of that greediness came because when you have a baby, you want him to be really pretty and become an impressive adult, and he needs to go to Harvard, and it needs to be just the best. And you don't give the opportunity to your product to grow by himself and leave the market growing your product. So in our case, we have 3 business models to start with. We have a subscription model, we have a gift product, so you could gift a box of wine, or you could just like buy regular wines in our shop online. Yeah? Did we need to build the 3 business models from day one? We probably didn't, and it would have saved us a lot of money on development and design that we could actually utilize that money that we put in our second line of product. We could have utilized that money to put into marketing budget to see if our first business model actually worked. Yeah? So no product 2, no product 3, but money to push my first business model. And then that would probably have told me that my initial thoughts about my subscription model being super successful was gone. Because when we brought out the second model, which was gifting wines, yeah, it was so successful without us doing absolutely anything, yeah? So we put all of our efforts in subscription, but gifting was our start. But we weren't going to change the business model because we already work on it. So we're going to stick with the subscription model, you know? And that was a huge mistake. And I think that caused my company like not to actually, you know, like jump where it could have been. So you don't realize at the moment, like, of the choices you are doing, you don't even know why you're doing those choices. Sometimes those choices is like they come with you. They come with you through the journey, you know, through the journey of building something. And you just have these pre-made ideas that you think you have to stick with them. But as I say, nobody knows what you're building. Not even you know what you're building, you know? So I think you need to be open to sweep or change or like listen, you know, listen to the market. And actually the data that we collect today is great. So we should have, like, make our ears bigger, you know. So decide the right MVP. So MVP stands for minimum viable product. Not viable, like buying, like my accent may think, like, makes you think, you're like, viable, something like that, yeah? And just for you to know, do not intoxicate this word. This is not phase 1.0 or 1.2 or 4.5. No, this is just like the minimum shit you need to get done in order to have something, yeah? Okay. So I'm going to follow with my beautiful analogy of traveling. And I would make a question. So, do you travel light? With your you travel with light luggage, or you usually carry around a heavy luggage? How many people here travel a lot? How many people here don't travel a lot at all? No? The more you travel, the less you carry. Is that true? Because you realize you don't need any shit, right? When you travel, you want to bring the comfort of your home and the whole choices on your closet in case you have a good night out And guess what? That never happened. Yeah, I've been carrying like all of these high heels that I don't even wear in real life, as you can see today. But I carry them because I may wear them. I can leave them behind. So, do you recognize this feeling? For me, it's very important creating these analogies because I think this is when we are able to identify emotions, we learn much more than when we identify terms or politics or rules. So it's very important for me that we identify those feelings when we're building things because building, it's for me, life. It's like the life objective. Every single human being comes to this world to build something or to create something or to produce something. Even giving service, even a doctor is like providing something to somebody else. So it's very inherent in us and it's very natural. And we tend to like not listen to any of our natural behaviors and like just bring all of these walls and bricks and things around our heads, yeah? So there is a lot of value in not carrying too much, yeah? So I would say, think like a customer, behave like a user, or feel like someone that has a problem and just got it solved. You know that moment when you go somewhere and it's like, thank you, you helped me so much. When you cross your way with a customer service, when your leaf is at the door and it's on time, when, I don't know, when your pizza is delivered on time, thanks to Seamless, not always happen, only some days, but it's okay. So you know that feeling of like, I just got my thing solved. That's the feeling that we need to think of when we build something, yeah? It's not about, if I add these 5 lines of code, this is gonna look much cooler. Yeah, but do I care about looking much cooler, you know? So I think it's really important to keep that. I put a light bulb here because it's like that aha momentum, yeah? That like, Jesus, nobody thought about this before. Nobody before thought that you don't need to drink shit wine. You don't need to drink bad wine. You can actually drink a very good quality wine that it's affordable, you know? And so that's what I wanted to you know, to solve with my startup. And that was my aha moment. So what to feature? Dirty minds, you know? What to feature? How to choose? How to choose in a world that makes us not choose at all? How to choose in a world where we have everything and more than we need, till the point that making decisions in front of a chocolate bar stand in the supermarket is really hard. You know, decision making is one of the most stressful things that a human being faces thousands of times every day, yeah? So this is not going to be easier, no? It's like what to feature. What to feature in my minimum viable product, yeah? So what do I choose? Where do I start, no? And so evaluate your idea. You are not a fish. Why am I saying this? Because sometimes we try to evaluate things by the grown concepts, I don't know, by the grown, we just evaluate things grown, yeah? Meaning, if you try to evaluate a fish for the way he climbed a tree, it's gonna look like an idiot. But the poor fish is not made for climbing trees. The poor fish is made for swimming and enjoying in the sea world. So what is my product made for? How can I evaluate my product, yeah? I need to keep in mind that my product, it's a fish. I'm not Apple, and it doesn't matter. I don't need to be the most perfect, fully featured product in the world because nobody got there on the first bloody phase. No one. No one, not even like Apple made it on their first try, yeah? So we need to be a little bit softer with us and we need to evaluate what we are looking for but what we are. And also it helps to see, to set up certain goals, yeah? So if you have goals, you can see if what you are building is more successful or less successful. So what are you trying to learn with your particular MVP? Meaning, what is that little piece that you need to extract from your product that it's going to confirm that you're going in the right direction or in the wrong direction. Meaning, is for me the most important thing the number of downloads? Is it for me prove my business model? Is it for me the speed of my application? Is it how fast it goes? I don't know. So you need to set the parameters of like what you're gonna consider success, yeah? So you need to also collect data for your experiment, and this is how you can evaluate if this is a success or a failure. It doesn't matter if you build something and then people tell you, you build a great product. And I was like with Glassful, no, I was like, you build a great product. And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna close in a month. So, you know, like you think you build a great product, but you didn't make it because like you cannot actually like make it out there and get people enjoying it, so you must be doing something wrong, yeah? So what to feature? What do we keep in mind when we feature something? We keep in mind that the fact that you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And as I said before, don't be greedy. It's more or less the same, yeah? Must have versus nice to have. Choose, choose, choose. If you're gonna build half of the measures, don't call it MVP, yeah? So if you wanna have something that is super big, just having a 1.0 behind it, it doesn't mean that this is an MVP. And then remember, choose one segment or one target. I think this is very, very important. Don't try to build something for all your scenarios or all of your personas. Just try to build something for the main people and the main task. That's super important. And start with the basics. Some people think MVP is the same as phase one because they effectively just like build the same thing. Sometimes an MVP can be super easy. It can be just a landing page, yeah? Or a survey. Or an emailing campaign that is gonna click somewhere. So it doesn't mean to be like so complicated. Keep it simple, yeah? What do I take away? So I take away build, measure, learn. We tend to do only build and measure, but we never have time to learn. Yeah? A lot of people collect all of this data, and the roadmap on the data is telling you something, but still the marketing department has this roadmap that is gonna get you trapped for months, you know? And like, there is very little room to play. So here, we don't even have a product yet. You've just been able to articulate your idea and to create a very, very minimum MVP. How much time? Okay. Any questions on the second one? Well, I think one of the problems in many companies, especially I come from design and developers, I think we all identify with this. I think marketing teams are not built within the design and the engineering teams. How many times you see a marketing person talking to an engineer, a part of like with a pointed finger going like, when it's gonna be ready? And half of the times the engineers don't even know why marketing is doing something, you know? So good news is like, I think marketing is changing. I think the channels are changing and the way we communicate is changing. But I think we should integrate more vision, mission, and execution. I think sometimes mission objectives don't even rely. You say, my vision is this or my mission is this, but your objectives are, you know, I want to bring wine to people, but my objectives are build 3 different products, even none of them is going to work. No, like, you know, that's the thing. I think that's where you, so it's not a personal thing with marketing department in general. Sorry if anybody here is from marketing. I'm talking about more like the consistency between the objectives and the execution. So, roadmap decision making, yeah? So we've been capable to articulate our idea, and we've been capable to solve someone problems, and then we've been able to decide where to start with, and with that very little thing, we have confirmed through the data and the feedback what we are going to commit with and what is going to be the beginning of our journey, yeah? So now it's the roadmap. And so I would ask you, do you travel with too many plans or are you open to get lost? What moves you to travel? Some people travel because they want to explore. I have a friend that she's hilarious. She want to explore. But then she's like, I'm going here. Okay. Monday, I'm going to eat in this place. In the evening, I'm going to go there. I want to go to this shop. In the night, I'm going to go and have dinner here. Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. Wednesday, and she give you a full agenda of every single thing that she's going to be doing during her trip. I respect that, but that's not traveling to get lost. That's traveling to follow an agenda, which can be very excited as well, but then all of these adventurous mood of letting you go, what about if you're walking on the street and you found somebody else? Oh no, I cannot go there because I have a reservation and they're gonna charge me money. And going completely blind there is also no good, so there is a lot of value in not always knowing where to go. It doesn't mean you either go blinded or with a very close agenda, but again, keep that analogy, yeah? So thinking about what to learn when you're building is critical, yeah? And I always like to think of a roadmap like a guide, somewhere that is gonna tell you where you can be, yeah? No company I work with in all my years of experience have respect a roadmap that we projected for more than 3 months. So having a 2 years roadmap in a startup is a completely waste of time. Why? Because if you haven't read your data, if you don't know your user, and your product is only in first phase, how can you know where you're gonna be in 3 years? Are you like Aladdin or something? I don't know, the genius? So, again, I have the feeling that I'm constantly saying things that are common sense, yeah? But then at the same time, I have the feeling that when I say, this is the 70 mistakes that I'm never gonna commit, that I'm never gonna make because I'm too clever to do them, this is life in general, again, yeah? So many things, many times we just let ourselves go with the flow, yeah? And it's like in the subway, so many people going there, so we all go there. Oh yeah, let me go this way, I'm going to Brooklyn, but never mind. So, can we just don't be scared of not knowing where we're going? Because the room to change our mind, it's actually the learning process that it's super important. So what to build? We already have our MVP, we know what we're building, and now we're gonna have to get into this journey of 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, 2 years, whatever, that is gonna give us a roadmap and we're gonna have to stick with it and follow up, yeah? And be flexible, please, be flexible. Do you know the 5 monkey stories? The 5 monkeys story? Yeah? No? Okay, you put 5 monkeys in a cage, and you put a ladder in the middle, and you put a bunch of bananas on the top of the ladder, yeah? What the monkeys do? They try to climb to get the banana. Yummy, yeah? When they try to climb, you take some really cold water, and you splash them with the water, so they all stop doing it, yeah? Every time they try to climb to get the bananas, psh, the water is there, yeah? So they stop trying to go out. At some point, you take one of those monkeys, and you take them out, and you put a new monkey, so you have 4 old monkeys and 1 new monkey in. What is this new poor guy doing? He's trying to reach for the bananas, yeah? But what are all the other 4 monkeys doing? They go and they kick him out. What are you doing? Don't take the bananas. Why? Because they know they're gonna get a splash. So you keep doing this. You change monkey number 2, monkey number 3, monkey number 4. And when you change monkey number 5, something really curious happened. All of these new monkeys have been bitten by their mates in the cage because when they try to get the banana, they get water all over. But when you change all the monkeys, none of them have seen the water, yeah? So one of the monkeys says, guys, why can we not go up there? And the other one say, I don't know, it's the way things work here. Always been working, it's how things always been working around here, yeah? Does it sound familiar for you? Does it sound familiar? Sometimes you are like, why are we doing this like this? And he's like, I don't know, we always done it like this, you know? So, what to build it, for me, it's a little bit of the same. It's like, it never mind how many times I have this roadmap for, or how many times I've been how many months I've been into this process. I'm always entitled to question myself, why am I doing this? is this the right direction to go and allow myself to change, yeah? So what can determine what to build is user research, team feedback, please, and company objectives. One of the things that I love most working in Adobe is how much time we have to think, sometimes too much, yeah? Nobody's perfect, but we have a lot of time to think. And I understand why. This is not true, this is computer science, so we are inventing stuff, yeah? So we have time to think and we get team feedback. Everybody is involved in everything. You have access to absolutely every person in the team, never mind the range or whatever. It's very important that an engineer can talk to a CEO, yeah? Because he's gonna get a great vision that he wouldn't know otherwise. So team feedback, please. So keep in mind, sunk cost decision. This is what we've been talking about. I've spent all of this time and all of this money into this product. It's too late to change. For me, Glassful, I spent so much time building 3 business models that I have to focus on the 3 of them. No. I should have stopped that. I should have closed 2 of my products and stick with Gift. And when my sales are more stable there and my brand is better known, then probably I can afford to open up the other 2 models. Yeah? Be open to change, be open to switch, to evolve. Execution is key. Your team is your biggest asset, and this is the greatest. No company has ever enough development capacity. Did you ever hear somebody saying, yeah, no worry, we have a lot of engineers that they've been months without coding. Just drop this project into their table, they're gonna love it. Nobody says that, yeah? So it's never enough. So it's not about how many people in your team you have, but about how well you use your resources and you execute it, yeah? So the takeaway for me would be analyze data, listening to users, and be open to change. I leave you here 3 readings that truly helped me a lot when I was building my internship. I think my favorite one is like the hard thing about hard things, building a business where there are no easy answers, because when you're building a business, this is how you feel. And that'll be all. Thank you.
Questions? Okay, we'll do 10-minute break, and then we'll have Jenny. And if you have any questions, you can ask Marie in the break.
So force people to ask questions. You really when one person asks questions, then they all ask questions. Instead of the first question.
I look for like 5 seconds.
So when in the audience ask a question, you ask maybe remind the question. Is this work? Try it. Is this working? Test, test. Wait, is this working better? Now maybe it's working. Should be fine, right?
Do I need to do anything with the software that I installed?
Yeah, you just need to open it.
That's it? Margaret, nice to meet you.
Did you open it? Yeah, plug it. That's weird.
What is it? Should I open it, launch it again?
Should be fine. Let's try to go full screen. Can you try to go full screen? Let me check.
Can see it.
And I have to do something. It's not connecting yet. Try to quit and are you in the Wi-Fi right now?
No, that's my computer.
Oh, it was you?
Yeah.
Okay. That was a interesting name.
Yeah, we don't get to choose it.
Okay.
Huh, how come you see another screen?
The other one?
No, yeah, that's it.
That's her. That's the computer.
Eh? How come you
So
see a different screen?
because as her, I need to change this one as well. One second. So a couple of things. A couple of things. Sorry. right? Something? Yeah, close to.
Rotate, yeah.
Oh, I can see.
Yeah, that should be good.
Testing, testing.
Can you guys hear? Len?
Hello.
Can I put
Hello.
I'll play here?
Sure.
Is this working?
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah? Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, this one is looking way better. The other
All
one.
right, we're about to get started again. Please fill in the seats in the front so it's not like empty. If you're in the back, kind of move closer, please. Yeah? Do you want to get in the video frame? All right. Jenny Chang is an iOS engineer at Grubhub. She's originally from Canada and she moved to New York City a year ago. She knows like 14 programming languages. At least her LinkedIn says that. She also speaks 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Chinese. In the past, she worked... Yeah, I said. In the past, she worked for companies like RBC Bank, IBM, and Google. And she blogs about her mobile development journey at mobilepickup.tumblr, where we're next month, December 7th, at Tumblr. She's currently studying psychotherapy, and when she's frustrated, she plays dodgeball. Right, please welcome Jenny.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? How many of you guys know? How many of you folks know about Grubhub? So I don't need to say what it is? Okay. Great. That saves me some time. So tonight's presentation is on iOS, the file structure, how we structure our code at Grubhub. So before that, I wanted to give you my journey on how I became an iOS engineer. I wasn't always an iOS engineer, but ever since the iPhone, or actually before that, there was a Nokia. It was so hard to program that, I gave that up. But when the iPhone came up, my interest started again. But then the MacBook and buying an iPhone was too expensive, and maybe I was too cheap. So I actually never invested in that, and I was hoping that someday, when I join a company, they will actually buy my computer and I could start doing development then. So my journey started at IBM. I was actually more like a full stack developer for them. So I was doing mobile, not mobile yet, doing web design and also backend and databases. From then, I actually found a mentor in the mobile team. And I asked them if there's any opportunities to work on any projects for them. And at that time, it wasn't very popular at IBM until like more recently. And so I kept on just, once in a while, when I had opportunity, I would talk to the mentor or talk to folks in the mobile team to see if I could join and help them out. And so there was one opportunity that came up, and it was doing their web services for them. So it was for the RBC Bank of the Royal Bank of Canada. And at that time, it was to help them build the web services for their first mobile application. So I said, sure, why not? I think that's a great way. And from then, I actually got connections with other IBM iOS engineers, and they were very helpful in teaching me, like on their side, or teaching me how the app actually worked. And how I started is actually learning their file structure. So it was the one important thing, how they structure a code. So that's how I actually was able to pick it up. And I actually had to buy my own MacBook. So I just, gave it up because the company doesn't actually put you on a project unless you have experience. So I actually bought my own MacBook, and at the time they have a promotion. You get an iPod with it. So I bought it. And then I started bringing 2 laptops to work every single day. When I had time, I actually download their source code, give me access to the source code, and just read up on it, and then just play with it. And I developed my own app on the side. And my first app was actually a citizenship calculator for Canada, just to help me to calculate when I could become a Canadian citizen. So that was very high motivation. So from then on, I actually had an opportunity to, because I worked for RBC and as a contractor, and I came back later on as a team lead for their mobile team to lead their hybrid and native development. So that was my journey, how I became an iOS engineer, and that was also my last job before I came to Grubhub. And I officially have my iOS engineer title. So yes, so there was many occasions that I had a lot of yes moment when I got into the mobile development. So I was very excited in that. And today I'm here to present my first meetup talk. And I greatly appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to do that. So tonight, talk is more on the file organization. And this is actually a general structure from Apple, how they structure their file system. So we're not going to focus on how Apple organizes their file system, but more specifically how we organize our app in the application, more specifically in Grubhub. So when I joined Grubhub, it was actually in January, so it's not even a year yet. But I saw there, as a newbie, we always have to learn the code. And I looked at the code, there was like so many files, and there are a lot of folder structures that were already in place. At that time, you guys know Seamless and Grubhub are the same company? Okay, so at that time, Grubhub didn't have their iOS application, iOS app yet. So it was mostly Seamless, and so they built on top of it to create Grubhub. So features keep adding and then to the existing code base, and it was always not so obvious where parts were reusable. So we couldn't see at a glance that these parts were reusable. And also, when I had to fix a bug, I wasn't sure because I didn't have a complete picture. If I'm modifying this piece of code here, is it gonna impact or am I missing something else? So it wasn't always clear. And also, I spent most of the time searching. I think most developers actually spend a lot of time searching. And Command-Shift-O is our best friend in Xcode. And the other thing that wasn't very useful is the Xcode, how they organize the Xcode files were not actually how it was set up in the file system. So that's some of the things that we change. And so why is the file organization important? There are 4 key points for myself that I think is important. Majority of the time is we spend time searching. So sometimes we can make things easier by having a prefix so that we know it's our code versus other framework code. And other times we also have like general things like views and file names with views or view controllers or nib files. We could search for that. The other thing is we wanted to easily identify reusable components so that we don't end up doing duplicate code. And for myself, it's easier to identify features. So if you're actually, or components. So if you're actually modifying a piece of code, I would like to have a complete picture instead of having like parts of the class that is relevant in other places, and I will have to know where to look. And the other thing is that is important is for new developers to join. At Grubhub, we're always hiring. Yep. I'll let you guys know if you guys are interested. And actually, once I introduce this is how we are working currently, so you already have a head start. And the other challenge, actually convincing the team to have a file structure, better file structure, wasn't hard. That was not the hard part. The hard part is convincing which approach to do, because I think every developer has a different way of working. And oftentimes, if the code has been there for a while, other developers who have been working on it, they already are familiar with the code. But luckily, everyone agreed, yes, we wanted to change the file structure, but how? That was the question, and I had to do some convincing. And as a team lead before, in other projects or other company, it was easier for me because I would say, okay, do it this way. But in here, it's different because I joined an existing team, and also it's more collaboratively. So and it's better to recognize how we're not always working the same way. So this is a glimpse of how the code structure was before we changed it. So we had to support both applications, the Grubhub and the Seamless application. So most of the things that were in the Grub kit was reusable components. Well, reusable by both brands, the Grubhub and Seamless. So in the images, so a couple of issues. There's also image assets and assets. So it wasn't always clear like where I need to put the images and why there are actually two in there. In the next part, common was actually in two places. And I wasn't sure what common in GrubKit and what's common in framework. I wasn't sure about that, where to put the files. The other thing is about views. The views and utilities were actually mixed in the, I actually removed all the files that are inside, so if you guys were able to see it, you guys would see that a lot of things were mixed together, so it wasn't always clear in that regards. And the other thing is about the models were also mixed with some utilities that were used for connecting to the network or doing error handling to manage the models. And we do a lot of, we actually improved a little bit. We abstracted the API layer. And so inside the API layer, there was things that were a lot of, they actually didn't have much file structure in there. It's just one folder with a bunch of classes that connects to different backends. So if I was working on a particular feature, for example, such as the restaurant menu, I wouldn't necessarily know which network layer actually gets me the data to display on the restaurant menu. So I had to do some figure out, maybe some matching parts of the name and make a guess. Or ask the other folks around to find out. So, and this part is the Grub UI kit. It was also mixed with code that was from framework and also our code, the UI code. So we wanted to improve this. So there was two proposed file structure. Maybe this is actually not rocket science. I think some of you probably see this as familiar. Most common ones is using, if you're someone who focus on the architecture, you tend to organize things in a structure like API, you know where your API are. And the command layer, that's mainly to interact with the API at Grubhub. And you have models, and then you have your views, you have your view controllers, your third parties, and storyboards. So separating, that's from an architecture point of view, if you were working in that regard. So if you're modifying a view controller, you just go to the view controller and find what you need. If you're working with storyboards, you just go to one location and find your storyboards. For me, it didn't give me a good picture, so now you guys know which approach I came up with. I came up with a more application perspective, mainly when I see a mobile application, I could identify, okay, this is the restaurant menu. I could just go directly to that restaurant menu feature, and then inside I will have my views, my view controllers, my models that are related to that, and maybe the network layer that connects to it. So that's my approach that I suggested. And so can you guys guess which approach won? No, it's actually split half. So we had team members that prefer to work from an architecture perspective, and we have team members that prefer the application perspective, mostly folks who deal with UI specific. They prefer to have a feature so that when you need to update a particular feature, you know which folders to go through, go directly. So how we came to a solution, we actually combined the two approaches. So anything that you actually don't see, we decided to use the architecture perspective. And anything that you see, we use the application perspective. So just an example. Do you guys use some of this already in your application? More or less? Which one is I get a raise of hand, like, which one use more like architecture perspective? Majority? In the application perspective? Oh, no, okay. So this is how the architecture approach looks like. So it was way more organized. So I just did a tree and then printed this out. So you guys can use this handy tool as well to study your file structure. So how we organize it, this one, any applications related, like services like Google Analytics, things that is used by application, but it's behind the scene, like error handling and any push notifications. We use this approach, and we had categories, any models. The models, we decided to not make it together with the UI perspective, mainly because it's actually related to the API and the network layer. So in the network layer, we have our web services, and we did the naming a little bit better. It's related to the web services that it's retrieving that information for us. Instead of one folder with a bunch of files, we actually organize a little bit by mainly a little bit more feature or name based. And this is the UI application perspective. For anything that's related for UI, for example, you have features or you have components, such as like alerts, anything onboarding or auto summary, like a screen, particular screen. You could also have part of components that is reusable through several different screens like alerts. And all your NIP files and view controllers, and also storyboards that is related to that component or feature belongs in here. Any questions so far? Okay, so this is how it looks like for me if I was a developer. For example, I had to do some work on the top recently to refactor the menu header to make it part of the collection view, which is what this page is using. So I had to, it's actually its own view controller. So I was able to identify it very quickly by going to the restaurant menu feature folder. And inside, it has the categories or the info or the menu items. So it was very clear for me where I needed to go to modify. And the other thing we also did was actually match the Google group, the grouping in Xcode with the file system. So that helped a lot. Any questions so far? Easy? Yeah. So this is one of the easy things that you can do. Oh, okay. The other thing is that we're hiring. So I think file structure, the main thing, my motivation for having a better organization was to actually help us deliver features faster so that we don't spend a lot of time searching. And if we were searching more productively, we could know where exactly, have a better idea where to look at. And if you guys join, or gals join Grubhub, you guys already have a head start, you know how we work. And the other thing is we have weekly iOS learning time. That's how I was able to actually share with the team one way that we could speed up our development. And everyone, most of the time, is open to new ideas. So I think that's one way each week that we could share with the team if there's a better way to do things or what other things do we work on. And also on Learning Fridays, they feed us so we could actually innovate. So if there's other ways that you find that is helpful for the team, you could come up with different suggestions. Okay, that's it. Questions? Yes. So the file organization did it so I'm repeating the question for the mic. So did the file structure actually affect the testing strategy? So it didn't, because it's actually so that's one of the beauty of this. The file organization doesn't necessarily dictate the architecture. So we didn't have to change much of the code. We're just organizing the file structure. It didn't impact the testing. So it was, I know when there's a period when we had to transition over to the new file structure. So we make sure that we actually run our test suite to make sure that there's nothing broken before we actually replace it. So we did run our regression test on it first. Yeah, yes. So we actually make sure for anyone who's working on bigger features, like if they made a lot of changes, we actually went through a time when we had to change over to a new style guide. They're still work in progress. So there's a lot of changes, a lot of files were touched using the old file system. So we make sure that those things get in first before we start moving things around. And there's actually a tool in Xcode that, not in Xcode, but there's another tool that lets you move the grouping without changing anything. So once you move things, it will actually, the tool will generate the file system for you. So it will match the Xcode grouping with your file system. It will move things automatically for you. So that was a handy tool to use. But make sure any large features, any code changes will get through before. And we did it on the weekend, on a Friday night, to make sure that everything is in before we did this. Yeah, so that's a good question. Would you guys be, or would you folks, I should not use guys, so would you folks like to get some ideas on how to maybe organize your code in the future or make some changes? Cool. Yes. So our code base actually supports TV and supports the watch as well. And we are, in terms of reusable extensions, I think, is that part of the watch 3 or watch 2? 2? So we haven't had, like our watch is very minimal right now. It only does one thing. So I would not have a lot of experience to share with you in regards to that. But if you're actually someone handy with watch, we're always looking for iOS engineers in that. Nobody likes to touch that right now. Yeah, because I think one of the difficulties with watch is that it's harder to debug, and we cannot use our test suite to actually test it. Like even the UI XC UI automation, it doesn't touch the watch. It doesn't affect it. It would be, if it's actually reusable, you could put it in the share. For example, if you're adding extensions of the UI views, you could put it in the, we have a shared views folder in there so that you could reuse it with more than one place. Yeah. So every major things like UI, we have shared. We have also anything specific like the base that everyone uses, we also have a folder for that. So anything that's reusable, we could go to that folder. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your questions.
Okay. We usually do announcements in the end. So if you're hiring or you have a cool side project that you want someone to contribute to, you can make an announcement. So.
So we, I guess already announced, we are hiring aggressively. So yeah, so if you guys are interested, we are hiring from all levels, from beginning to senior levels. And yeah, so if you guys are, you folks like to join Grubhub, just reach out to me or send me an email. And one of the reasons why I chose Grubhub was because when I went to interview, 3 out of 5 of the interviewers were female. So I was surprised. It's like, I've never been interviewed with a lot of females at once. So, and the company is pretty representative. And in terms of, we also won the award from Anita Borg Institution recently for women's, for one of the best places for women to work in, Women Tech. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Alex Modes. I'm a CTO of a startup in Manhattan called Vare. We do we do ride sharing for corporate clients. So you can think of it like Uber for business. Like 2 weeks ago or so, we just did $1 million in revenue and 25,000 rides, and we've been operating for 5 months now. And we're looking for more engineers. Currently, we have mobile apps to driver and passenger apps, as well as Android applications we're building out. Yeah, we're hiring. So,
Any cool side projects? Nope, nada. All right, so the next event is December 7th at Tumblr. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, Prolific, for hosting.